Hello, everybody. This is Gary. Today is Sunday, November 17th, 2019. It is now 12:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States in Rochester, New York. And this is my coping with schizophrenia vlog entry for today. Today, I wanted to talk about something called anti-psychiatry. Um, it's a movement that claims that psychiatry and psychology as well are both um, pseudosciences, fake medicine, quackery. Psychiatry is not legitimate. Psychology is not legitimate. It's just a money making racket, um, a con game. And this movement that believes these things is known as anti psychiatry. There's two famous psychiatrists that were also um, influenced by the anti psychiatry movement, um, Dr. Thomas Saz and Dr. William Glasser, whom I both believe are deceased right now. They died of old age. But William Glasser put out a book called Reality Therapy. In the book, he claimed that mental illness doesn't exist and that if people were having psychological problems or psychiatric problems, they were just being irresponsible, and to not have psychiatric symptoms would be the responsible thing to do. Thomas Saz was a little bit different. He claimed that mental illness didn't exist. Both of these men were psychiatrists, by the way. They had all the legitimate uh, education and medical degrees and psychology degrees that goes with being a psychiatrist. And by the way, the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist is a psychologist is somebody who has a PhD in psychology, but they have no medical degree. So they have a certain expertise in the human mind, but they're not, for example, allowed to write prescriptions. And I don't think that's true in any of the 50 states. They're not allowed to write prescriptions. Psychiatrists have a 4-year medical degree plus 2 years of psychiatric residential training that makes them have the same 4-year medical degrees that any other physician would have. And they can prescribe medications. Um, but, anyways, William Glasser and Dr. Thomas Saz both believe that mental illness doesn't exist and that psychiatry was a sham in some way, even though they were both psychiatrists. William Glasser believed that mental illness was either based on irresponsibility or responsibility of the mentally ill person. If they were hallucinating, it was because they were somehow being irresponsible and unwilling to face reality. If they had delusions, the same thing. They were choosing to have delusions, refusing to accept reality. Um, and Thomas Saz worked closely with the Church of Scientology, which also claims psychiatry is a scam and is a horrible thing, and it does nothing but torment people with electroshock treatments. Um, and Thomas Saz believed that if a person wanted to voluntarily go see a therapist, they should do that, but mental illness didn't exist. So both of these things are wrong. Uh, I am a mentally ill person. I have schizophrenia, and I'm on like 6 or 7 different medications. Some of them are medical, the vast majority are psychiatric, and I know that's a lot of medications. The only thing I can say is that if I appear rational, able to talk well, articulate myself well, able to it seems like I'm able to think things through and talk about them. That's because I take my psychiatric medicine. Without them, I would be completely irrational. I would be babbling in incoherent nonsense. I would be homeless. I would be unable to work, even part time. I would be on the streets without my medication. I would be homeless. I wouldn't be able to pay my rent, pay my bills. I won't be organized enough to keep my medical appointments, keep my psychiatric appointments, have friends, have hobbies, have a work schedule, have vocational and avocational interests. I do have all these things because I take my medications. Um, One of the other criticisms of psychiatry is that it can't prevent future acts of suicide and violence. And that's true to the extent that psychiatrists are not um, clairvoyant. They don't have telepathy. They don't have the ability to predict the future. And no, they can't always tell when somebody might become violent or commit suicide. My sister committed suicide with a shotgun. There was no way her psychiatrist could have known that was going to happen ahead of time. But that doesn't mean that you don't make the attempt to try to help the person who's feeling suicidal or violent, because there's no evidence that somebody is guaranteed to commit an act of violence or guaranteed to commit suicide, especially if they get help. So it's sort of like saying if a person can't cure cancer with 100% certainty, then don't go through chemotherapy, don't go through radiation treatments because it may not work. That kind of logic doesn't make any sense. You won't know if something works until you try the treatment. It could fail. A lot of people go through chemotherapy, a lot of people go through radiation therapy, and they end up dying anyways. But that doesn't mean you don't make the attempt, if the patient wants it, to cure their cancer, because that's always a possibility. And by the same token, a psychiatrist cannot predict when somebody's violent or suicidal, even somebody seemingly rational like me. If I wanted to commit suicide and hide that, it would be easy enough for me to do that. I would be able to hide it from my psychiatrist, my family, and my friends, and all the rest of the people that I know. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't make the attempt to prevent my own suicide and prevent my own actions of violence by seeing a psychiatrist. Because I know from personal experience, at the very least, if I stop seeing a psychiatrist and stop taking my psychiatric medications, as well as my medical medications, there's a good chance that I would end up committing suicide or becoming violent. And so I take my medications. I see my psychiatrist. I appear rational because I am rational most of the time when I'm on my medication. And the Church of Scientology, by the way, is just a cult. And I'm surprised that somebody like Thomas Saz would work with the Church of Scientology, which he did while he was still alive. And he defended that, right? But they're a cult. They have an in for psychiatry because when L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, presented in a book called Dianetics his view of psychology and mental problems, it was rejected outright by the American Psychiatric Association and the American Psychological Association as being pure gibberish, and it didn't make any sense. So L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, felt angry that psychologists and psychiatrists would reject his theories on mental illness. And therefore, when the Church of Scientology became bigger and more powerful, he made psychiatrists his own personal enemies and the personal enemies of the Church of Scientology. The Church of Scientology is just a religious UFO cult, and I'm not really concerned about their views or opinions on psychiatry or on whether or not I should take my psychiatric medications. Why would I take advice from any religious cult, whether it's Scientology or Christianity or Judaism and Islam? To me, they're all cults. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. And the Church of Scientology has no credibility. They're just a cult. So I really don't care what they think about psychiatry and my mental illness. So that's basically what anti-psychiatry means, making the claim that mental illness doesn't exist and psychiatry is a scam, a con game, and has no legitimacy. I don't know what else to say about it. If anybody has any comments, suggestions, share, like, subscribe. If you want to see a video on a particular topic, let me know, and I will try to make that video.